So the idea of the law of the attraction is a perfect example of Rahu in Pisces. The idea of the law of attraction is an idea that goes back to the New Thought movement in the late 1800s, early 1900s in America. But that phrase was popularized by Rhonda Byrne in her book The Secret in 2007, 2006, 2007. And so we know the law of attraction from Rhonda Byrne. And here's the birth chart of Rhonda Byrne. We don't have her birth time, but we know certain things about it regardless. Some things are not going to change in her in charts, regardless of the birth time, the time of day. And so one of those things is her Rahu in Pisces. And so the idea of the law of attraction is a perfect example of it, and she exemplifies it. And we see that she has, if you look at the top of her chart, this is at her Rhonda Byrne at 12 p.m. So that's just a random time. And you see that Rahu is in Pisces. It's at the top of the chart near the midheaven. I'll also note that some other things that aren't going to change more than a degree in a day is that Sun, Jupiter, and Mercury that are, at least the Sun and Jupiter, are within a degree of that Rahu in Pisces. And the Sun and Jupiter are not going to change by more than a degree in a day. The Sun won't. The Jupiter will just move a couple seconds, if that. And Mercury is a little over 2 degrees away at noon. And so it could be even closer, depending on the time she was born. It could be closer to that Rahu in Pisces, or about a degree farther than it is now at 22. So she has that Rahu in Pisces, but not only that, it's expanded, blown out of proportion, you might say. It's magnified by that Sun Jupiter that we know is right next to it, regardless of the fact we don't have a birth time. And so this is it's really emphasizing, it's putting a lot of weight on that Rahu and Pisces. In a sense, it's going to be stronger than you'll normally see it. And you see that in the fact that she articulates the idea behind Pisces in its relationship to Virgo, because we're talking about the nodal axis. And so Virgo is going to be a essential ingredient in this axis. And so her book, The Secret, and her other books, one called Magic, which is another keyword for Pisces, um, we see that she emphasizes that the power of the mind, which if you know about the law of attraction, it's about how the power of the mind, our thoughts can control reality. And that's what she emphasizes. And what I see in my research, what I see in case studies, what I see in people is that the Rahu half of the nodal axis, the north node, also known as the north node, is the sign that it's in, the house that it's in their lives, at least looking from the outside of their lives. It's really emphasized. It's really apparent. And it's certainly the case. And she's a great example of it. She's like the law of attraction lady, if you will. And so that is shown in her chart. And you can see it right here. Um, But what's interesting about this is that she wasn't always that lady. It didn't, it wasn't not awoken, that understanding, that kind of understanding of Pisces, regardless of the fact that she has already has all this Pisces from just her natal planets that are going to be there. She didn't have that same kind of extreme understanding of Pisces until she reached a crisis in her life in 2004 when her father died. So that's often what we see is it takes a crisis to awaken to what's in us. And that was the case with her. You can see here that in 2004, her father died, and it was by the urging of her daughter that she read this this book from the New Thought movement called The Science of Getting Rich that was written in 1910 by Wallace D. Wattles. And once she read that, something happened to her, something awoke, and she wrote her book, The Secret. And it was only 2 years later in 2006 that she published it. And by 2007, it had sold 19 million copies in 40 languages because she is articulating, tapping into, expressing something fundamental in reality, and that is Pisces, at least 1/12 of reality. It's no accident that something sells that much, regardless of the fact that it's called a pseudoscientific belief. It's funny that they want to emphasize that. I mean, it's not necessary. That's a kind of a denigrating turn. It's not even necessary to say that. I mean, is it really? What is the placebo effect, if not the fact that thoughts can change a person's life directly? Is that a sign? That's a scientifically established fact. You can't get drugs passed. You're not supposed to be able to get drugs approved unless they can do better than a placebo. So science real has to overcome the hurdle of the placebo effect, which is essentially the fact that what we believe can affect material reality. But this can be, but this needs to be tempered with a Virgoian understanding of the fact that we live in a practical reality, a physical reality that's constrained, and that's the importance of the nodes because they go together. But she is a beautiful expression of how of the Piscean side of it. Uh, okay. You can see that she was undergoing a crisis in 2004 when her father died from her transits. And this is 2004 transits, and I'm showing what Jupiter and Pluto were doing. And you see that, so look back at her natal chart. You see that Sun, Mercury, Jupiter are, let's just speak loosely, approximately within a degree of Rahu and Pisces. So in a sense, Rahu in Pisces is one and the same with her Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter. So she is Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, North Node in Pisces. That's who she is. They're bound, they're in a union together. They're one and the same for her. She's taught, Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, the expression of big ideas, a bigger picture of reality being expressed. Um, the expansion of her word into the world. I'm not thinking 10th house here, but the expansion of her word into the world. She sold so many books. She talked about a big picture concept, something that, you can orient your life around as a philosophical approach. philosophy. So Sun, Mercury, Jupiter likes philosophy and stuff. It can go in that direction. So we see in 2004 that Pluto is squaring the slowest moving planet in the sky is squaring in 2004 that Sun, Mercury, that same Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and it's hitting all of it throughout that year. Unfo- you cannot find on the internet. If you can find it, please let me know. But I cannot find on the internet the month that her father died in 2004. But her Sun, Mercury, Jupiter is being activated all throughout that year, and that Jupiter is activating her Rahu, opposing her Rahu in that year as well. I'm not saying that any of that caused her father's death. What I'm saying is that she was going through a crisis at this time, and she discovered. So look at this. She discovered Pisces in 2004, in the biggest way that she ever had, and that is perhaps it's emphasized by the fact that Pluto is square the Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Pisces, and it's so powerful, heavy, and slow moving, and that the Jupiter is opposite that Rahu in Pisces in January within a degree, and then exactly on top of it at the beginning of August. So Jupiter came and expanded her awareness of her Rahu in Pisces, and she was able to understand it and express it in a big way, and she sure did. Um, the other thing I want to mention about this is that the potential of her Rahu in Pisces was in her, but it needed to be awoken by a crisis. It it wasn't until later in her life she I that she awoke to this. She was born in 1951. This was in 2004. So, I mean, that's a long time, much later that she really opened up to this understanding. And it was in her, but it needed to be awoken. Her daughter helped her. And that's kind of, and it's funny how that worked. I would love to look at her daughter's chart and see how it interacted with her. Her daughter probably had the South Node in Pisces, to where it was more of an innate, perhaps it was more of an innate understanding in her daughter, to where she's showing him, Mom, you need to look at this, or something. I don't know. I would, I haven't looked for a chart. I was just doubtful that you could find it. Another unfortunate thing is that Wallace D. Wattles, the guy who wrote the book that she read, Science of Getting Rich, his birthday is not known. I can't find that anywhere. If you can find that, that'd be great. I'd love to see it. Because I suspect that he would have some, he would have the nodes in the Virgo Pisces axis, or in the sixth or 12th house, or something similar. Um, well, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Waddle. Yeah, you can't, he's born in 1860. That's all you know. And then on the rest of the internet, you can't find anything about it. Um, Unfortunately, but I'd love to be able to confirm that too. I'd predict that. Okay, that's that's pretty much what I wanted to explain about that. That she is a great example of Rahu and Pisces, and the law of attraction is, and that's a good way to think of it. And but it's only half the story. And when you have Rahu in Virgo, that will emphasize the other half of the story very often. And the character that I spoke about in my previous video, Michael Crichton, he had Rahu in Virgo. I didn't talk about how he emphasized that side of things as much. I just talked about the general idea with him about manifesting a dream. But we'll look into him next time about how he emphasizes the other side of that more, the Virgos and Virgoian side more than the Piscean side, because of the influence of the North Node having a different quality than that of the South Node. There's some sort of a pull there that can create an emphasis or maybe exaggerate one side of things. Okay, that'll be next time. Thank you for listening.